In the quiet town of Ash Hollow, a strange legend had persisted for generations. Every night at exactly 3:33 a.m., an old ghostly train was said to rumble through the forgotten station at the edge of town. The station had been abandoned for decades, its tracks covered in weeds and rust. Yet the locals swore they could still hear the mournful whistle in the dead of night. And if you were brave, or foolish, enough to visit the station at that hour, you'd see the train arrive. But this wasn't just any train. It was filled with passengers from the past, people who had disappeared without a trace, swallowed by time and mystery. Lena had always been drawn to the unknown. A skeptic by nature, she found the idea of ghost trains ridiculous, nothing more than local superstition. But as an urban explorer, she couldn't resist the challenge of debunking the legend once and for all. Armed with her camera and a flashlight, she set out for the station, determined to prove there was nothing supernatural about it. The night was cold, and a heavy fog blanketed the town as Lena made her way through the overgrown path leading to the station. The air felt thick, almost oppressive, but she pushed the unease aside. "It's just an old train station," she muttered to herself, tightening her grip on the flashlight. The station loomed ahead, its weathered structure casting eerie shadows in the moonlight. The clock above the platform, frozen in time, read 3 a.m. Lena checked her phone. 30 minutes to go. She set up her camera, pointing it toward the tracks. There was nothing but silence, save for the soft rustling of the wind through the trees. At 3:33 a.m., the silence was shattered by the distant, unmistakable sound of a train whistle. Lena's heart skipped a beat. "No way," she whispered, her pulse quickening. Out of the fog, the outline of a train began to emerge. It wasn't like any train she had ever seen. Its black, iron body seemed ancient, covered in soot and grime, as though it had been traveling for centuries. The train came to a stop in front of the platform, its doors creaking open with a slow, metallic groan. Lena stared in disbelief. She had expected nothing more than silence, but this was real. She felt a strange pull, an irresistible urge to step closer, to see what was inside. Against her better judgment, she climbed onto the platform and peered into one of the train's windows. The passengers were unlike anything she had expected. They sat still, their faces pale, almost translucent, as if they were barely there at all. Some were dressed in clothes from different eras, Victorian gowns, 1920s suits, old military uniforms, but all of them shared the same vacant, glassy-eyed stare. Lena's breath caught in her throat. These were the missing people, the ones who had vanished without a trace over the years. The realization hit her like a wave of cold air. Suddenly, a voice called out from inside the train. "Are you coming with us?" Lena spun around. Standing in the doorway of the train was a man in an old conductor's uniform, his face hidden beneath the brim of his hat. His voice was soft but commanding, like the whisper of a long-forgotten memory. Without thinking, Lena found herself stepping closer, her legs moving as if controlled by some unseen force. The conductor extended a gloved hand, beckoning her aboard. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she couldn't stop herself. Just as her fingers grazed his hand, a sharp gust of wind howled through the station, breaking the trance. Lena stumbled backward, gasping for breath. The conductor's eyes glinted beneath his hat, and for the first time she saw his face, gaunt and hollow, as if he had been dead for years. "This is your only chance," he said, his voice colder now, darker. "No!" Lena shouted, shaking herself free of the spell. She bolted off the platform, her heart pounding as she raced back toward the town. Behind her, the train's whistle blew one last time, and when she dared to look over her shoulder, the platform was empty. The train had vanished, leaving nothing but the lingering scent of smoke in the air. Breathless and shaking, Lena collapsed onto the ground, staring into the darkness. She had seen it. The midnight train. It was real. And she knew, deep down, that if she had taken the conductor's hand, she would have never returned. Back in town, the whispers of Ash Hollow continued. But now, there was a new addition to the legend. The midnight train still came every night at 3:33 a.m., waiting for another soul to board. And if you were brave enough, or foolish enough, to step onto that platform, you might just disappear, never to be seen again. But Lena knew one thing for certain. She would never go back. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment for more videos.